First, we have approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda of the December 15th, 2020 regular meeting as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we have approval of the consent agenda items.
Move to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have public participation. Board members and administrators will listen to concerns and respond when appropriate by mail or telephone at a later date. We will not be able to respond to your questions at this time. The purpose of this session is for us to listen to you and give you the opportunity to share with us. Per policy BBFA-1, public participation at board meetings, the following guidelines and procedures will be followed. In order to speak during public participation, a public comment form must be filled out and submitted to the board president prior to the beginning of the meeting. The public comment period will not exceed 15 minutes. No individual will be permitted to speak more than once, and each speaker will be allotted no more than 5 minutes. I do not have any forms or emails. Next, we have the report of the superintendent.
Good evening. Don't you all look lovely in your Christmas attire? I want to thank you for doing that. I know you do it every year. It's a lot of fun. So thanks.
It'll make somebody laugh.
Martha's all for it.
Yes.
I have reindeer antlers on my car. I'd rather not do that.
So, I do not believe there are any notes of appreciation in your board packet. But we just keep that on there because that's a standard item. The next item I have, sorry, I'm advancing the wrong slide. The next item I have is a reminder about the annual school board election. It will take place on April 6th. We have 2 expiring terms, Mr. David Boba and Mrs. Joan Cook. Filing opened this morning at 8 a.m. It will continue at district office during regular business hours from 8 to 4. Filing will not occur when we have inclement weather that prevents us from getting to district office. And then on those dates, December 23rd, basically through January 1st, the person that takes care of that needs to take some vacation time. And then January 18th is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which is a holiday for us, so we will not file on that day. Filing ends on January 19th at 5 a.m. This morning, we did have 2 people come in and file, Mr. David Boba and Mrs. Jared Diesel. Mrs. Cook has made the announcement that she will not run. She has other things that she wants to pursue, so I don't know if you want to share or you want to talk or...
Yeah, this is ending my 18th year on the board, and I probably 4 years out from retirement on my work. And then contemplating going into a ministry program associated with my church, mission way pastors, so that's kind of my plan for the next. It's a 3-year program, so that's my plan for the next 3 years. I'm going to miss everybody, but I will always be a dragon. I'll be close, just not disappearing.
Well, we definitely thank you for your many years of service. It's been greatly appreciated. And wish you the best of luck, and if there's anything we can do to help you along the way, all you got to do is give us a call.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move on then. Yeah, we still have you for a while. The next item on my report is pre-K kindergarten registrations already. Those registrations will take place at St. Genevieve Elementary on Saturday, March 6th from 8 to 12 p.m. we think, roughly in there. Bloomsdale Elementary, they will take place on Saturday, March 27th, again from the same time frame, roughly. You can begin calling on Monday, February 8th to register your child. Does anybody want to share any information, social distancing? Are we still working on plans?
We're still working on plans, but I believe that we're going to utilize the high school cafeteria and our cafeteria because they are larger spaces than our gymnasium. And then from there, we're still working out the plan.
Okay.
spacing the parents out more and seating them like at tables that have their times on them, so they stay at those tables. And then the kids themselves will go to one person to do the whole dial. That way they don't have to go over. So those are things we can talk about so far.
All right.
There's still a lot of details.
Yes. Thank you for all that planning. So,
Last year, did we get this in before COVID shut down?
It was scheduled, but we didn't get to do it, so we had to do a very different type registration last year.
New territory.
But,
So new territory again this year.
yes.
yes, everything's new. We'll get through it.
Yep.
So I will keep this reminder on in my report up until, I guess, February. So, and then probably again, I think I put it on in March, just as a reminder, if anyone hasn't been able to do it, please call. It's very important that you take care of this. Next, we have a presentation from Dr. Taylor on the Backpacks for Friday program.
Good evening, everyone. Merry Christmas. We have continued our partnership with the Southeast Missouri Food Bank with the Backpacks for Friday program. The price was maintained at one backpack at $350. They actually changed up their structure on how they did backpacks, and what they did was they went in and split that one backpack into 2 units of food. So really what they did was they tried to reach more families that were in need. So they split the backpack into 2 and they charged $175 for each of those, which is equal to the $350. Schools had the option to continue what they were doing, and I talked to our coordinators on campus, and they decided that we wanted to continue with the way we were doing it, providing that food to families. They had some feedback and they changed some things up with the types of food items. Rather than giving families things that they could cook on the stove, they got some feedback that some students were doing this themselves and attempting to prepare food themselves, and they didn't want to endanger them, so they made it more readily available to them so that they wouldn't have to go to a stove and prepare. So it's more items like that. We did continue with the one backpack at $350. It provides 36 weeks of healthy, nutritious food, and the first backpack went home on September 4th, probably the 3rd, because I think we were off that day. And the last backpack will be delivered on May 7th. This program is funded through community organizations, local businesses, and community members. Without donations from our community members, our community organizations, this program does not exist. And consistently, our community steps up to the plate and funds this program because by funding it, they're telling us how important they feel it is, and we're in complete agreement.
Did you want to tell them we continued it last year? How we did that?
Oh, yeah, last year, mentioning COVID and when we shut down, we still continued this program, got together with the principals and came up with some delivery options. And we actually packed it up and had different delivery vehicles and coordinated and took it to different locations. So the principals were in charge of that. And they know their families better than we do. So they know who's where and are able to contact them. And we were still able to deliver. I got to go one time and it was really fun. Taking food and delivering it to families. So yeah, that continued last year during COVID shutdown. This year we were able to go up to 55 backpacks, so that's a total of $19,250. We do have to pay that up front. We have to pay that ahead of time. So for this year was paid at the beginning of the year, so the money that we're collecting now is going for the following year. Bloomsdale Elementary took 21 backpacks, and their enrollment is 313 students. And St. John Elementary have 34 backpacks, and their enrollment is 558 students. And that's constantly in flux. If we have a family who says they don't need it anymore, then we contact in town. Do you have somebody who needs it, or we try to find somebody else to fill that spot. A huge thanks to our STAR students, Mr. John Robinson, Mrs. Debbie Baker, and Mrs. Joanne Grind. They go down to the PLAQUE and sort and organize all of the deliveries of the food and make sure it's ready to go out. Mrs. Jessica Grimminger is the coordinator at SGE. Mrs. Amy Rowland is the coordinator at Bloomsdale Elementary. The maintenance department receives the shipments, and then whenever it's packed up down at the PLAQUE, they transport it out to Bloomsdale. And then, of course, building administration and anybody else involved, they continue to support the backpack program and allow it to occur on campus. And then here are our community partners. I felt it was important to list everybody who has donated so far this year. You know, it's a donation anywhere. You can donate anything you want. There's donations on here from $25 up to, I think, $3,500. So, like I said, without these organizations and individuals, this program does not exist. So we want to send a huge thank you out to each and every one of them. Families in our community are eating because they take the time to donate to this program. And then anybody else who's interested in the program, just give me a call. You know, if you want to donate, we've had some church organizations donate food items, and there are some specifications along with that. Just contact me, and we'll get you taken care of.
Wonderful. Dr. Taylor, over the course of the day, the board members exchanged a few texts, and then this evening pulled together for a Christmas gift another $360.
Well, thank you very much. That's another backpack.
Thank you all very much.
And then Dr. Taylor's still up.
Okay, we do have some data from the state. We don't have assessment data, which I thoroughly enjoy going through. Really, I do. I enjoy that part of the job, digging through that data. We just heard from Desi. We will be taking the assessments this year on campus, each and every student. That data will not be used to evaluate the district, but it will still be collected, and we'll still have some data to talk about next year. This is the disaggregated graduation rate data, and I tried to highlight with red boxes where we are 2 years ago, last year, and this year. We're at 92, turn my page, it's a little small, 92.8. This year we're up a bit from last year. Last year was 90.4, and that's overall graduation rate. We usually tend to hover somewhere around the 90% mark, so that's good last year. I have my fingers crossed for this year. With our number of at-risk students going up due to COVID and just not having contact with school personnel and being on campus every day, I hope that we're close to 90% this coming year. I hope we're still able to maintain it. I know our teachers are working hard to make that happen. We did separate it by female and male. Normally, here, males are a little higher. It's at 92.5% for males and 93.2% for females. The last 2 years, it's been opposite. But they tend to hover right around the same area as well. It's then separated by race and ethnicity. We don't have a lot of diversity in our community, so the majority of it is down at the bottom, 134 and 144. All the other groups are at 100%. It's then separated by families who receive free lunch, reduced lunch, free reduced lunch combined, and then full day lunch. This is a little telling. Full price lunch is 99% graduation rate, and then free or reduced lunch combined is 77.5% graduation rate. So we'll have to dig into that data a little more. See what that tells us. It's a little, if you look at 2018, it was down to 66.7%. And then last year it came back up to 81. So that's a category we're always focusing on and always attempting to improve. Then we separated by IEP disability. And I haven't mentioned this, but the far right-hand column is the state rate. So if you compare us at free reduced lunch rate at 80%, and the state rate at 82. They're just a little higher than us. If you look at the IEP disability rate, we're at 87, and the state's at 77. So we're about 10% higher than the state there regarding graduation rate. And then we've got English language learners down at the bottom. We don't have any of those, so that's not applicable for us. But that's the overall graduation rate is at 92%, and then it's broken out by individual groups, and then free reduced lunch, IEP disability, and English language learners. So that's how it's disaggregated from the state. And that's our data for this year. Do you have any questions?
And next, we have principal reports.
Right now, we're just trying to make it through Christmas week. It's pretty exciting now. We recently had our family fun night, Polar Express virtual, and the family put together a bunch of packets and put it in. On the left, that was the faculty get together like candy and bingo cards and candy canes, things to help the parents do those virtual activities. And then those parents would go online and do those virtual activities, submit pictures to us, and then they had an ornament that they could send in and say where your Christmas tree. So that's a picture of a Christmas tree in Lobby. We normally have about 70, 75 families participate, and right now we have about 45 parents participating. So that's good virtually. And then when they turn in those papers or they submit a picture, we are printing them a certificate and sending them home also to the kids. Up at the corner here, we have Big Joy in our cafeteria, and we're allowing the teachers and the kids to write what brings them joy this holiday season. That goes along with our literacy lessons. And in the top right corner is the gingerbread house, and that also goes along with our literacy lessons. We're working on gratitude and emotional environment right now. And first grade did a big study on the gingerbread man, and I ran away, and they listed all the things that make the school wonderful and why they wouldn't run away when they put those on the gingerbread man. It was National Day Special Education Teacher, so we put together care packets for those teachers and told them how wonderful they were and kids delivered those. We have a leadership environment team, action team that helps make the building look better, and it helps improve the playground. It helps provide, they paint the murals on the wall, on the ceiling, and we have half days at once moms to help pay for those supplies. I want to give a special shout out to Ms. Ewing. She has went above and beyond at the library. She's a book fairy every Wednesday, and she wears her book fairy costume. She goes around each classroom, collects all the books, puts them on her cart, and then brings them all new books, and they get the opportunity to request books for that classroom. So she finds all those books and puts them in the total, and then takes them to that classroom. And then outside the library, she's tracking how many books we have read for the year, and she's giving incentives to the kids to try to help them read more. So she's going above and beyond. A shout out to Mr. Friedmeier too. He did an amazing job with his Christmas programs. We told him, no, you can't really have Christmas programs this year, but he kept coming to us with different ideas. And he asked if we could have them over 3 different nights and have every class by themselves. So we did that. We had one class at like 5:30, then we got everybody out, we sprayed and sanitized everything, and we brought the next class in. And I think he did an amazing job trying to, when you only have 15, 20 kids, it's hard to make it exciting. But it did, he even incorporated, they had to try out for a drum solo in each class, and each one of them got to play a drum solo. So it was good. We had Hour of Code, December 7th. everybody in the building coded for an hour. They could be using robots, or they could do code.org. We have coding cards that they could have done. And Miss Rowland and Miss Ewing helped prepare the kids for that. Like that week in library for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, Miss Ewing taught how to use code.org, which they already knew because we've been doing this for 3 years now. And then Miss Rowland met with K1 and 2 and taught them how to do Scratch Junior for coding. And then this is just a bunch of pictures of this week. We have dress-up days all this week. The teachers have Polar Express, reindeer activities. I mean, we're trying to keep it as normal. We're still having our RTI groups, but it's getting a little bit harder each day. But we're having fun. So that's, you know, what we're preparing for. We just finished our DRA testing, our NWEA testing. We met today with data teams, and we're preparing for our new groups based on that data in January. So we're going to hit the ground running. So that's Queenston Elementary.
Okay, very much the same at St. Genevieve Elementary. We're trying to survive the last week before Christmas. The students seem to have a lot of energy right now. These pictures right here are not the best photos, but they capture what our student lighthouse team did in regard to organizing and collecting food for a canned food drive. They came up, they packed it all up and got it ready to be picked up by the First Baptist Church of St. Genevieve and the St. Vincent de Paul group in St. Genevieve as well. It was one of their first humanitarian efforts sort of in the building for this year. Then since that went so well, they worked with Mrs. Bowman, who has a passion for Haiti, and she wanted to sponsor a child's education in Haiti. So they came up with the idea to do Hats for Haiti, and they were able to raise $361, which is going to all go towards sponsoring a child in Haiti. Right now, the timeline didn't fall correctly for us. Our 2nd quarter habit leader signs are currently being delivered this week, so we don't have pictures yet. Those will make next month's report. We had 4 positive office referrals. Actually 5, Braden Pop and Dayton Weiler had a co-referral for something that they did together. David Dahl, Reese Wibbenmeyer, and Kylie Mitchum. So it's good seeing students still do positive things in December. We just selected our feature teacher and super staff this afternoon at our faculty meeting. Mrs. Bethany Cutting was the feature teacher. She's our early childhood coordinator and also serves as the EC process coordinator. And Ms. Peggy Boner was the paraprofessional. We are also having some Christmastime fun. We had a hat day today. Well, it's actually, that was Santa's workshop day. So it was any type of headgear and Christmas socks. So we have the kindergarten classroom featured in the top right. And then Ms. Kreitler down there in the middle was the favorite Christmas character day in the District 12 Days of Christmas that they shared. And at the bottom right, we have the radio color contest winner, Ms. Rose Kreitler. And then we have Mr. Kingery, who captures how everyone is feeling in the elementary right now, just a little bit wiped out. And then I have this video, I don't know if it will play. It's just like 40 seconds of our fun little radio color contest that we did. And it only starts in the middle, but at 10 a.m. on December 10th, they had to be the 10th caller. It literally took 5 minutes out of the day, but the teachers knew their day was going to be interrupted at that time. And it was fun, and there were lots of laughs and giggles. So DJ Jingle started the contest by announcing that it was time to do that. So I guess if I exit out of this, it won't exit everything out. There we go. Today, this afternoon, we finished with our faculty meeting and we did some more fun with our staff. We did a white elephant sort of past the present game. There were a few good presents in there, but mostly it was just fun and laughing and just celebrating the end of a fantastic first semester under circumstances that we weren't sure we were going to be able to navigate. And like Mrs. Zusman said, we are still balancing the fun with a lot of hard work. We finished our winter NWEA testing. We finished our DRA testing. We are gathering really great reading data. That's our phonics for first and second grade. And we're doing a lot of planning for second semester to try to get a little bit of normalcy back in our lives. I know that Mrs. Zusman mentioned how hard that Mrs. Uding, the librarian, is working to get books out to all of the classrooms. And I believe in her building as well, we're working on ways to get students back to the library. So that will take a lot off Mrs. Uding's plate and a lot off her assistant's plate and get those kids back into the library. So we're working on making a lot of transitions, but overall, we're pretty happy with how things went first semester. So that's St. Genevieve Elementary.
All right, good evening. How are you guys? Good. So if you look up there, we kind of started the opposite direction than the elementary started. You can see last week we were really full of a lot of Christmas cheer. This week kind of feels like we're gearing up a little closer to finals. So we're on a little bit of a different pace than the elementaries. I will draw your attention to the right-hand side. We're trying to just spread a little Christmas cheer every now and then out to social media. So if you follow our Twitter or our Facebook, our advisories got together and they wanted to just thank the community and bring some Christmas cheer, but also show our students' faces. So that was a really intentional piece. You'll see in a lot of the videos, the kids will be masked all together in a group, and then they take the time to go one by one so that you can see their smiles, because that's something we're definitely missing. So that came from our PCC, and that really was an effort to replace. We typically do cookie deliveries in December. I don't know if you guys remember that, but we go out to the local businesses, and our teachers and our students, that's one of our favorite things to do, and it just didn't feel like it was one of those things we could make possible during COVID. So this is our opportunity to still spread some cheer. So be on the lookout. I have some others still to be sharing now. So things that we have done in the last little bit. We are in our NWEA winter session, so we have math finishing up this week, and our teachers and kids really have the hang of that, and it's running like a well-oiled machine, and it's very interesting and insightful right now after shutdown of COVID, but also, you know, and then our kids coming back and our kids being in a splendid schedule and being able to see if there's losses, gaps, but also to be able to celebrate. We're seeing some awesome growth in our kiddos as well. We had NJHS induction in the PLAQUE, and we handled that a little bit differently. It was a cool opportunity because we had all of our new inductees sit with their families, and so whenever we called their names, their parents stood up and pinned them, and we weren't really sure how parents would handle that, but it was a pretty special moment where they pinned them, and we said, hey, we'll give you time, take a few pictures while you're doing this, and it went really well. Our buddies had their walk-in and decorated our halls, so if you were up in the middle school, it is quite very up there, and I was told that they were a ridiculously fun group. They had a good time, so there were ornaments everywhere. We did have our food drive, and I was a little worried. It's hard to get momentum when you only see kiddos 2 days a week. So I was like social media lady and Google Classroom lady, pushing and pushing, and our kids and our advisory teachers were pushing. And we still got a really good number. We brought in 850 items, so I was very proud of our kids. Our 7th grade, if you follow any of our posts, our 7th grade knocked it out of the park. They brought in around, I think, 520, 530. So then they were able to celebrate with donuts because they won the competition. spotlight we just awarded today. And this is a cool one because she often gets associated a little bit more with high school, even though we all share her and share her resources. Due to our current situation, we utilize her on Fridays, and she was she was helping up there on Fridays. We have student work days for kids that need to come in for some extra time and get some extra help, and she was helping. And then whenever we had Ms. Brown transition and transferred out of high school, we were without an ISS teacher to run that on Fridays. And Gary took the lead, and she has rocked it, and our teachers have been thankful for her. And I told her, I said, this is a compliment, so please don't hear this as a backward compliment. But she was out last Friday getting ready for the luncheon, and all of my teachers said, we knew Carrie wasn't there, because it was not that well-oiled machine that she has had running. So that's the majority of the comments are things of just her being an invaluable resource and how much we value her time that she's giving us up there, but what an exceptional job she's doing with that. There are some pictures of NJHS induction that was on come out. And you can see our new inductees listed there. You can also see that we have 30 return members. We also nominate and highlight a staff member of honor and a faculty member of honor. So the staff member of honor was Dr. Mercer. So you see he and I down there, and then in the middle, the faculty member of honor was Mrs. Carla Bosler. And I don't know that we have ever surprised anyone better than we did her. She was like mad that her mom showed up, because her mom just shows up at everything, and why would her mom show up when she's just doing the pledge? So that was a pretty fun experience. Positive officer referrals. There have been a lot, and it's cool, and I will tell you that next month will look the same, because my positive officer referral list is blowing up. Our teachers want to celebrate our kids, and it is for, a lot of it is resiliency, and just that we're seeing those kids figure it out, show up, do what they're supposed to do it with a smile on their face, and just, far exceed our expectations. And that's the majority of every one of those positive officer referrals from a different mix of teachers. I think that's all.
Thank you. Good evening, guys. How's everybody doing? Good to see you guys all nice and invested. Mr. Bosler, I have bad news. You came in a day too early because Mr. Haney tomorrow is going to be wearing the Ralphie outfit from A Christmas Story. So if any of you guys want to drop by and check that out, tomorrow will be a very festive day at the high school. I think Dr. Nixon's going to dress up as Santa. It should be a lot of fun. So you were a day early, but if you want to come back tomorrow and pop in again. The high school, we've been off to a fast and furious start with our winter sports. The boys team on the left actually won the Sullivan basketball tournament, which was actually a really neat. They actually came out and were initially ranked 6th in the tournament. We actually got into that tournament late because the DeSoto tournament was canceled. And so we ended up drawing the 6th seed in that tournament and ended up winning the whole thing. They beat Farmington in a great championship game on Friday night. Came out and beat Farmington in that championship game, which was really, really neat. I think a lot of the coaches going into that were kind of questioning where we were at and how we were going to stack up. And we hadn't really played that level of competition so early in the season, and they were able to come out and have a great performance. So the boys won that Sullivan tournament. And then I also have up there pictured Maggie Miracle. She was named the girls' most outstanding wrestler at the Sullivan Wrestling Tournament. For those of you guys that know anything about Maggie, super sweet kid. You can have a great conversation with her. When she gets on the mat, she is tenacious and a completely different person than what you see corresponding and having conversations with in the hallway. Fantastic wrestler. Major kudos to those coaches and those athletes. I also had the hype video for the girls basketball, and it looks like it's going to request access on that. So we'll skip over that. But for those of you guys that haven't been to a basketball game and haven't seen what Corinna Wiener and DLP has created with that hype video, it is really neat. They play it before every girls basketball game. Really, really cool, great stuff, and they've done a fantastic job with that. We have some congratulations. Allison Braun was named to be ELK Student of the Month. Emma Johns was named the Rotary Student of the Month. Definitely want to give some shout outs to Mr. Toombs for his work with both of the organizations and collaborating, and then also Mrs. Jury and her work with collaborating with Rotary. She actually takes those students to the Rotary luncheon whenever we have the luncheon, and she coordinates with the videos that they're working with right now as they're doing some of those things virtually. But she coordinates all of that and sends that to Mr. Haney, myself, and does a great job of serving as that liaison. And then on the right, we actually have Mason Nix, and for those of you guys that know, that's Dr. Nix's son. He received a positive office referral, and so I saw my opportunity to go in and give Dr. Nix kind of a hard time in the office. So I walked back there and told him, hey, I need to talk to you. We got a referral on Mason, and trying to get some kind of emotion out of him. And he said, I already know, he's being a good kid. So Coach Ballard had already made it up to his office to notify and let him know that he had gotten a positive office referral. So the kind of the ramifications of the story behind it, Mason was in his gym class and they were playing pickleball, and there was a student that was off playing by himself, not engaged with anybody, completely outside of his social circle. Mason goes in and puts himself in that situation, sees an opportunity to be able to not only help that kid along, show him the rules, show him how to play, but also just be a really, really good kid. And so Coach Ballard sent that into us, and the quote that she left was that it was just a very nice gesture from a very nice young man. So she was very, very impressed. The MODOT Bridge competition looked very, very different this year. Mr. Rapp works with our engineering students, and they work on going and competing in the MODOT competition each year. And you can see this year our school placed third out of 28 total schools that participated in the competition. It was done in a virtual format, so they went, they submitted the bridges, and then they actually shot video of them going in and testing the bridges, and then they released that video out. Mr. Rapp's big knock on that was that he wishes that it would have been live. So the kids got an opportunity to watch the video, but it wasn't live as their bridges were being tested under that pressure. Macy Reynolds ended up 8th, Molly Barton ended up 9th, and then Kaylin Fuller actually won the most aesthetic bridge. She was first out of 350 students. This is the third year in a row that we've actually had a student win the most aesthetic bridge. So out of about 1,200 students over the last 3 years, we brought home first place in those last 3 years. So that's something that's a really neat opportunity and something that Mr. Rapp really gets involved with and gets the students involved with each year. And then our competitive speech and debate team, I actually had a conversation with Addie Taylor as she was walking out of the building today. I said, all right, I need the lowdown, I need the gist on what goes on with this virtual speech and debate. Because in my mind, it just seems crazy to do that in a format, especially with debate, where you're debating against another group of individuals and do that in a virtual format. So she kind of walked me through and said that it's utilized basically something set up kind of like Zoom. And the two sides will log in. The judges sit back on that virtual format. They get an opportunity just to simply watch and judge. And then they submit their results. They upload it to a site. And then they score those individuals based on the performance between the two sites. She did tell me that they offer a little bit of grace and leniency on the amount of time that they're giving students right now. So it's actually increased on the prep time that they have to go in. So once they get the information, they get some additional prep time in case there are any kind of internet connectivity issues or any kind of problems that they encounter with internet or connection. So they get a little bit of extra time. But you can see Addie and Caitlin Fuller actually were undefeated in the mess of the debate meet. And they're quite the duo. And she kind of gave me the lowdown where both of them actually will be in the same room working together whenever they have that in that virtual format. So that's really, really neat that the kids have been so resilient. And that the speech and debate team continues that kind of that tradition of excellence even in a virtual format. Available idol up in the top, finished first in prose reading, second in the digital oratory, and fifth in extemporaneous speaking, and that was the Jackson tournament. And then Sean Uzel also placed in the humorous interpretation and storytelling. And then we have some novice with Emma Tucker and also James Kimber performing down at the Ladue Novice Invitational. So that's really neat that they're still getting an opportunity to participate and compete in those speech and debate competitions. Our grade level teams, and this kind of coincides with a little bit of what Mrs. Huffman was talking about with Mrs. Brown and Mr. Draper. they started to implement a Friday workday for some of our high school kids as well, and that model was really stolen from the time when Mrs. Brown was down in middle school, spending time working with the students there. She's come here and she's implemented it, and they've been doing a fantastic job of bringing the students in on Fridays. It started with just freshmen, and now it's started to transcend into sophomores, and even a couple of seniors are now popping in and utilizing that time. So if you walk in here on a Friday in our, basically in our commons area here, you'll see that there are lots of students that are engaged. Our freshman teachers have actually been coming down, they've been taking shifts. So they'll sit down here with the students for 30, 45 minutes, help them work on things. Mr. Haney and myself will pop out. It's just really neat to see the kids engage with their teachers and taking the opportunity to really get engaged on those Fridays. So they're doing a fantastic job with that. Mrs. Zukowski, Mr. Toombs, and Ms. Turner, all of our grade level teams have done a fantastic job of just collaborating, working together, trying to figure out what attendance, academic standards. The senior grade level team, Mr. Toombs, has been working with Ms. Turner. She's working actually right now getting some college hours with an internship. So she's been spending a lot of time working with that grade level team with Mr. Toombs. But they've been identifying and working with students, especially our seniors, that are getting ready for workforce. They're sitting down and meeting with groups of individuals that are working on applying for colleges. They're sitting down and helping them through the application process. So there have been a lot of great work that's been happening with our grade level teams, and our counselors are definitely knocking it out of the park as they always do. Dr. Taylor was talking a little bit about graduation rate earlier. These are the people right here, and these are the teams that are helping our students get to the finish line and really making a difference, especially with those at-risk students and those students that are on the borderline of making it, not making it. These guys are doing amazing work to make sure that they do get to the finish line. And then finally, our cross-country plaque signing, and I'll spend a little bit of time talking about these guys. They actually competed at the district cross-country meet over in Arcadia Valley, and they finished second place as a team, which qualified them to the state meet as a team. I've been around cross-country a long time. I've been around it at the high school when I competed, moving on to the college level, and then having an opportunity to coach it. This was probably the biggest upset that I have ever seen. This team qualified for the state meet and finished second place on the boys' side. They had lost to, there was a really good Potosi boys team. They hadn't been within 50 points of the Potosi boys team all year, and they showed up at districts. And those kids, I think Mr. Haney showed the video at the last board meeting where the young man dove across the finish line. And that was just what these guys had in it. So they had a special night, a special opportunity to be able to sign that plaque. They moved on to state meet. They finished 10th place as a team, so top 10 in the state with a team that wasn't supposed to be at the state meet. So that was really neat, a great opportunity. Devin St. Clair finished 20th in the state, so he earned all-state honors. It's the first time that we've had a boys team. It's the first time we've had a team at the state meet since 2016, and first time that we've had individuals qualify for the state meet since 2017. So really neat opportunity, great group of kids, and they really dedicated themselves and worked really hard. And then down to the bottom left, for those of you guys that can see, that is Taylor Warner. And there was some information that was put out by FlowTrack not too long ago that she had signed a professional contract. Well, that information wasn't completely accurate. FlowTrack had broke the article, broke the news, but there was nothing that had officially been signed or nothing that had officially taken place or happened. And so, as you can see, there's really big news that's coming. I can't share that news with you guys right now, but I can tell you that there's really big news coming for Taylor. She's on the cusp of greatness, and I will tell you it's few and far between kind of the level of where she's at and the experiences that she's been able to experience, but also the experiences that she's about to be able to experience as well. So keep an eye out. There will be more information coming out, probably, I would assume, in the next couple of days with Taylor. So, and that's all I have from the high school. I want to wish all of you guys a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and it's great to see you guys.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. You're just confused because I can see the video on my computer and play it, but it's not coming up there. All right. The next item on the superintendent's report, safety reports, in your board packet, you have summaries of our shelter-in-place drills that took place in all buildings. Shelter in place is part of our intruder, active shooter training that we do. And basically this part of the training is if you can't get out, what do you need to do to shelter in place? And so that's what the teachers and the employees work with kids, to explain what needs to be done to actually practice it. So we did conduct that drill, and so that summary is in your packet. And then the last one, COVID-19 pandemic update. I put that on there. And Bailey's actually going to do a summary next month and provide you some information and some updates on our website and some other things that she's been working on. So that really for now, unless you have any other items.
Dr. Fleek, I just
Yes.
wanted to share some things that I've heard. And, I'm very proud of how cautious we've been for our students, teachers, staff, and our community through the masks, the blended program, plexiglass, additional janitorial staff, a multitude of items we've done to mitigate the effects of COVID, and I think been very successful. As best I can tell, very little transmission inside the buildings. I also, want to share that the parents that have reached out to me are very appreciative of that. On both sides of either going back or not going back full blown. And though they're appreciative and they want to continue those measures, the parents that have reached out to me, and please share it, would like to see us try to go back maybe in the second semester if there's not an uptick in cases after the holidays and we continue the good measures that we're doing right now. So I just felt it necessary to share their statements to me here tonight.
Yeah, and I am receiving emails from those parents, and I'm sharing them with the middle school, high school, Dr. Taylor, Dr. Green, and actually I'm including you to make sure that we have a board member seeing them, but they're sharing their concerns, they're sharing their frustrations. I completely understand. I have a senior, so I'm living it just like they are. And I understand. We talk about this, every 2 weeks, if not every day. I think we do have concerns after the holiday, because we don't know. We had the same concerns after Thanksgiving, and luckily, and I heard the same thing today in the MAAA superintendent's meeting, we really didn't see a lot of cases after Thanksgiving. So we do have the same concerns after Christmas. We believe more families will get together and spend time together, and we can't say no because we completely understand. So this first semester doesn't end for middle school, high school kids at Christmas break here. It continues on into January. So we're definitely going to use that time to monitor cases, keep an eye, continue the discussion. We're not saying it's never going to happen, but it's a discussion continually. I don't know if you all have anything you want to add, or?
We're having the same conversations with parents as well. So we're listening and we're trying to figure out what's the next best step. And we're watching, all those different numbers and our staff numbers and all of those pieces. There were a lot of different, it's not just those county numbers that we're watching. There's a lot of different ways to watch, but we're hearing people and we're listening.
Yes.
It's just figuring out when it's the right time to shift.
Thank you all. I know it's a very difficult decision. I just felt it necessary tonight to share what I was hearing. So thank you all very much.
And we are here to listen, so if they want to share concerns, suggestions, ideas, let us know. We're here to listen.
And I had directed some of them to the principals, the district office, and they've gotten good responses. So thank you all again for that also.
Well, and those discussions have been great. The parents that have reached out have been everything that I've seen. They're frustrated and they want the kids back in the building, but they've taken that positive spin and they've had that positive connotation with it. And I don't feel like there's been any hostility towards anybody in regards to the situation that we've been in, the conversations that have been taking place and that have been having. And I know that we've been soliciting feedback not only from parents and students, but also faculty members as well, kind of getting their pulse of kind of where they're at and just general ideas. Even if we transition back, ideas of being able to make things work and be able to try to create as much distance and as much space as we possibly can within those compounds. And I think that piece of it, is looking at all of those angles and trying to look at class sizes and trying to figure out, if we transition back, are we looking at, 29, 30 students in a classroom, and what does that look like? So those are all discussions and conversations right now that we're having, at least at the high school level, with teachers, parents, students, and trying to work through and figure out what's not only best for our students, for their social, emotional well-being, their academic, but also their health and safety, trying to balance all of those together.
I've heard from teachers also, and I want to thank them. I know there are a mixed bag of concerns for themselves, for their students, and sometimes those are at odds. And they're really having an internal battle. I appreciate all they're doing very much. Thank you.
How about the elementary? Is the elementary, you're going 5 days?
We've been going 5 days a week since the beginning with a blended and virtual option. For second semester, we've eliminated the blended option, so we will either be going 5 days a week or virtual. And I think we're down to about 40 students virtually. The rest of the students are coming 5 days a week in our building.
I kind of started, we now blended about October because we needed the staff for the building. So we moved blended in October, and we're down to about 13 virtual students. So we have the rest of the students in class.
Well, I would like to let you all know, I heard a lot of positive. Some of the negative was pretty much maybe a couple months ago, but, and I like Dave, told them that they needed to talk to you guys, that you guys would be able to tell them what they need to hear or what they need to know. But I really personally want to let you know, I can't think of, I don't even know the word, thank you is the biggest for what you've done, what you've all gone through, and what you have to deal with. And I tell the parents, I said, they're not wanting those kids to school. They want the kids to school one day when they're home. I said, but you all have to understand, it's not just them, it's not just the school experience. And you know what the biggest response, I can't even tell you how many people that have told me this, that they honestly didn't realize that you all went through. And now that they know, even the people that, those teachers this or that or whatever, there isn't anybody that I've heard now, and I talk to a lot of people, guys, that can't appreciate you any more than they do. Knowing what you're doing now for your kids. And some of the kids have even said that they'd rather be at school with their teachers than be at home. So you guys, I don't know how many people thank you, but let me just tell you, there's a lot of people out there that are thanking you. And I personally thank you for what you've done, for the good work you've done.
All right. Thank you. Next, we have unfinished business, property liability, and workers' compensation insurance.
Yes, it is that time to go through our insurance. So this year, we have an approximately 2.6% decrease. We're going to save a little bit of money. Sorry, wrong button. So this insurance takes care of property and equipment breakage, general liability. Buses is on the list, but since we contracted, this is 0 in the book. School board liability, workers' compensation, our treasury bonds, and this year they have included cyber liability and pollution liability. So all of that's included with this coverage. This just kind of shows you the square footage that we have, like on our high school track, our field house, storage sheds, middle school, all the way down to the daycare and the shed that we own next to district office. And then in 2019, the contents per square foot were covered at those rates. So like the high school and the track, 113, almost 114,000 square feet. And I think it was $20 and about 62 cents a square foot. If you add this year's content per square foot, you'll see that everything went up a little bit. So that's a good thing. So this year, for this liability insurance, it's going to cost us $286,380. And again, that's a decrease from last year. Last year was $294,000, a little bit above. But last year and this year, we are being issued a membership credit of 8%. So that's a reduction of about $22,910. So the total expense for the insurance is $263,470. When we put the board book together, we did not have the umbrella policy, so Carrie Hoff posted that afterwards, but that is included in this motion. The umbrella policy covers the two exceptions. They are claims arising from automobile accidents and from dangerous conditions on your premises. It's kind of the little caveat in the law. We have traditionally carried a $10 million umbrella policy, but due to increases, we're no longer able to access $10 million. So we are recommending the highest level that they're offering, which is $8 million. So it will be a little bit cheaper, and the umbrella policy cost, hold on, I just closed it. Not quite $7,000. We have been with music, the Missouri United School Insurance Council, for 25 years. We have outstanding rates, we have outstanding service. We have worked with them many times over the time that I've been in the district office, and they're very easy to work with, and they're quick to respond when we do have workers' compensation or any claim that we need to file and get started with them. So I'm recommending that we stay with music and approve these rates and continue that great relationship with them.
That was the highest on that.
They actually had a 20% rate increase on that from that carrier on the umbrella policy. So that's why it wasn't in the book. They were still negotiating it out. And so $8 million was the highest they could get without having a drastic price increase.
8% savings, and then the rebate that we're basically paying $25,000 or $30,000 less than last year for relatively the same coverage, except for that difference in the umbrella.
Yes.
That's reflective of some of our processes here also.
Yes.
Thank you all very much.
I'll put you over the rates for the music, Missouri United School Insurance Council as listed.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have new business, approve, updates, and readopt policy BBFA and set limit on gifts board members accept.
Okay. We have 3 of these new business items. They are all due to some changes in legislation and wording of policies from the Missouri School Boards Association, who handles all of our policy procedures. This first one is for policy BBFA. That is board member conflict of interest and financial disclosure. They basically took out in the policy the took it out of the policy and are telling school boards, hey, annually you need to set this limitation in a public meeting. So what we will do is annually in August, this will be an item to reapprove this policy and to set this limit. So the recommendation is to approve the updates and adopt policy BBFA, and for the board members, I forgot the word, set the limits on gifts and gratuities from a vendor who does or is attempting to do business with the district shall not exceed $100 in value. And that $100 in value is what was in policy before they took it out. So I'm just recommending that we keep it at $100. Does that make sense?
It's been $100 for multiple years.
It's been $100 for a long time.
We're just changing the version.
We're taking the limit out of the policy and annually going to do it in a public forum like this and set the limit and take it out of that amount is.
Move to approve the updates to MSBA policy BBCA as presented, adopted after approved, and set limits on gifts and gratuities that may be accepted by Let's go.
Okay.
Move to approve the updates to MSBA policy BBFA as presented to re-adopt and after approved and accept the limits on gifts and gratuities that may be accepted by board members and others subject to this policy. Limits on gifts and gratuities from a vendor who does or is attempting to do business with the district shall not exceed $100 in value. Second.
Have a motion, and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have approved updates to re-adopt policy GBCA and set limits on gifts staff members can accept.
So GBCA is staff conflict of interest. It's basically the same update that we just discussed for board members. MSBA took the wording out of the policy and they're telling boards that they need to annually adopt it. So we will re-adopt this policy and set these limits in August when we do board business. That way we do them at the same meeting and they're consistent. So with this item, we need to approve the updates and adopt policy GBCA and for employees, the limits on gifts and gratuities from a vendor who does or is attempting to do business with the district shall not exceed $100 in value.
I'll move to approve the updates to MSBA policy GBCA as presented to re-adopt it after and set the limits on gifts and gratuities that may be accepted by employees. The limits on gifts and gratuities from a vendor who does or is attempting to do business with the district shall not exceed $100 value.
Second.
Have a motion, and a second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have approved and adopt policy DFI, new and set tuition rates for district programs.
Yes, this is more complicated. DFI is a new policy for MSBA. It's entitled Setting Tuition for District Programs, and in parentheses, district allows non-resident students to enroll and attend when required by law. So basically, in House Bill 604 in 2019, the legislature created new statutes that addressed transfers of students from unaccredited districts. Subsection 10 of law, the statute 167.895 specifically requires that districts may receive such transfers to adopt. It says districts need to basically adopt a policy on how they're going to set tuition rates, and that you need to do that annually by February 1st. So we are going to do that annually in January. But the tricky part of this is that MSBA does not recommend that districts insert the actual tuition dollar amount into the policy because each circumstance is different. Every circumstance has some complications. So setting one rate for every student that would come in from an unaccredited school district would be difficult because you may have a student who doesn't require extra services, or you may have a special needs student that comes in and needs a para, needs specific devices to assist them with learning, all kinds of different things. So those tuition rates can be very different. So setting one rate and putting it out publicly, we could have to pay the same rate for a special, they would have to, and we would have to receive the same tuition. For a special needs student who's going to cost us a lot more money to educate than a student who is just an average student. So, plus the other complication with this are there are several state statutes and mandates that tell school districts how to set the tuition in those specific situations. So, basically, MSBA is telling us to go ahead and adopt this policy and to say that when tuition rates, it's at the bottom here, when tuition rates are not defined in state statutes and/or mandates, that St. Gennard II will set tuition rates at and will charge the per pupil cost of maintaining the school or grade level grouping or the cost of maintaining the program. So that means if our fourth graders cost us a little bit less money, our average fourth grade class costs a little bit less money than an average fifth grade class, we would charge that average fourth grade cost to a student who comes in who would be an average fifth grader. Does that make sense? So they really don't want us to set a rate, but they tell us to set a tuition rate, so that's the verbiage that they're giving us. It's a little vague, but in general, we do not allow people to transfer and enroll their children if they do not live in our town. So this will be very rarely used because I think right now there's no unaccredited districts in the state of Missouri. So
Kind of tag on to that, there would have to be an unaccredited school district in a neighboring county.
yes,
And if our class levels were at or above state mandates, we would not have to accept it.
correct.
But if we
In the rare
could, we would,
circumstance.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That's all the question I have.
Okay. It's complicated. It's very complicated. I read this one like 4 times.
I move to approve the new MSBA policy PSI as presented, to adopt it after approved, and to establish tuition rates. Tuition rates are not defined in state statutes and/or mandates. Thus, Genevieve County RG School District sets tuition rates at and will charge the per pupil cost of maintaining the school or grade level group or cost of maintaining the program.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have action for a closed meeting.
I move that the board of education on the closed record, college director open for December 15th, 2020, to be held in our downtown library, 715 Washington Street, St. Louis, Missouri, for the purpose of discussing and voting upon the following items of business: hiring, promotion, and components, grant evaluation, and policy evaluation of the 10,000 individuals. I further move that notice of this meeting and its general agenda be posted as required by law. Second. Motion and second. Roll call. Aaron Baldwin.
Yes.
Aaron Baldwin.
Yes.
Tom Nook. Yes. Hector. Yes. Aaron Yankee. Yes. Tom Reason. Mr. Rudolph.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
I'll move to go to closed session with a closed record and a closed vote after a short break.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.